Good evening, cousins, and welcome to another episode of the Shattersong LARP Diaries. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Menhirs' fate, but we're not going to be pulling directly from the wiki. No, indeed not. I have a special treat for you. I am joined by a very, very special guest. Special guest, reveal yourself.
Hello, I'm Ian of formerly the LARP Noobs. Chris has been very generous and invited me along to join and tell you all what I know about Menhir's fate, working from the inside. Um, it's probably worthwhile saying that you're talking to neither the most knowledgeable or perhaps skilled individual behind the scenes, but I am full of keen and hype as we draw ever closer, just a week away from the event itself. It's
Absolutely,
very
and
exciting.
you're in the right place, Ian, because I try and preface all these episodes with I'm ill-informed, I'm biased, and I will
Mm.
present my personal opinion like it's the truth. So this is the right place to be in.
Enthusiasm, I think, counts for everything, right? And I've got bags of that. I'm now we're getting so close to it. I'm just so excited to see everyone turn up and just experience what I think is going to be something. I hope, like something that hasn't been seen on this kind of scale before.
Mm,
You know, maybe it's a little bit of naivety on my point, but I really do feel like there's something special brewing. And I'm just excited to see people kind of come through the doors and see what we have.
absolutely,
I suppose.
absolutely agree. Yeah, it's like seeing something new on the scene, and I submitted my character because I forgot about that for the event coming up next week, dear listeners, next week, and just having a nice character creator, the UI. It's clear that this isn't a 90s LARP. This is a 2020s LARP. Like you said, lots of new people coming in. From the Discord, it looks like there's a lot of new players, like brand new players coming in
Mhm.
as well. And that's going to be great for the hobby. Like nothing about this could be bad for the hobby, and it's just going to take it from strength to strength.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, like, just being able to share the awesomeness that is LARP with just more people, and especially like fresh people to the hobby, and just I think again, like maybe this won't turn out to be the case, but I truly feel this is the case. I think experientially, there's something at this scale and in this way that I don't think necessarily has been done before. That I certainly haven't attended before, and I like this kind of PVE kind of ethos, this kind of you are adventurers kind of mentality, this kind of that's the quantity of NPCs and availability of NPCs, and how the NPCs I think are being handled, how encounters are being handled. I think all of these things are very exciting. I mean, I play Empire, and I love playing in Empire, and I play in a couple of other smaller LARPs as well. And it's just there's always something exciting about something new, and seeing what spawns from the minds that make them.
Ooh, spawning. That's a. I was going to ask you. So you talked about something at this scale, and for those of you who don't know, Ian, you're on the crew side of things.
I
So
am.
you are under very strict instructions from the security troll of what you can and can't say. But are
Which
you
is good
allowed
because, to be honest,
to?
I probably don't know that much of volatile nature anyway. But yes, there's certain things I can't say. Certain things I don't know. It's probably worth saying what section I've been in. So I joined quite late into the process, in like sort of September last year,
Okay.
and I joined in the writing side. So anything that's touched either the Adventuring Guild, which I'm a part of, or the Sphere of Air, is kind of like seen my hands at some point. I am neither the most skilled or amazing writer the world has ever seen, but I really enjoyed the challenge of it, and sort of just being able to be part of it was just so exciting. And you know, obviously when I kind of came in, quite a few things were established,
Mhm.
so it was really interesting to have come in at that point and to start creating things within the framework that was already there, which was really interesting. I think there's an interesting world and interesting experiences to be unpicked there. But yeah, there's certain things I can't say
Gotcha.
because you've got to find out and play.
Now that I really wanted to talk about that actually because I've seen. I'm so for those of you who don't know, I'm also going to be joining the crew side of things. We have seen some things that the general player base will not see, and it actually confirmed my suspicion, my theory, if you will, for a lot of the game that's going to be find out and play. And I've seen some people saying, oh, where's detail X, Y, or Z on the wiki? There's the sort of a loose handful of pages covering certain topics like the gods or the regions or some of the cultures. And I thought, interesting. There's not as much here as say in Empire or LT where you've got hundreds and hundreds of pages of PDF knowledge. And this is only confirmed that there was actually a lot to find out in play, which means that even if you go to, this is my personal opinion, even if you're a person who gets in the E1 year one, versus someone coming in next year or maybe 5 years time, I think there's still going to be lots to explore and find out in game, and that's going to keep it so fresh. It's going to be really hard to build things like power blocks or knowledge blocks, if you will, because a lot of this is going to be drip fed in, and the player base is going to be learning as a whole, and I think that's really healthy. And when you talk to Ian about the PVE element, and that's not really been done before, we've seen Empire, I love using that as an example. That's a PvP game, a political PvP LARP. And I don't know how to summarize it other than the last few years there's been some friction around the PvP elements, especially in the politics, right? This
Yeah,
LARP is giving people what they want, what the kind of game they're going for, and keeping it fresh.
yeah. I mean, I mean, they're different flavors, right? Like, it's like there's a sometimes I like a coffee and sometimes I like a tea. I'm actually one of those people.
How could you?
I know some people swear off one or the other, but I'm open for both. Like, and I think there's room for both. And I think that's Menhirs is coming in. I think filling an open space,
Mm,
uh, and I think it's a necessary kind of open space as well. There's this kind of collaborative sort of find out and play PVE. There is some PvP in it. It's important to say as well,
mm,
but it's mainly PVE based ethos. I think it's just for something this scale. I think something exciting, and I mean an interesting aspect of that would be to consider my character. So I'm one of the guild masters in the adventuring guild, but there's this kind of ethos of how we are supposed to be, and that is that there's five of us, and we're supposed to actually be essentially characters who are there to not just sit in the adventuring guild, but also kind of live out in the world a little bit. And I will venture beyond the doors of the adventuring guild and go and encounter people, and they can encounter me. And there's a degree of freedom to be an actual like that there is something it is to be part of the adventuring guild, to be one of the guild masters, and to like actually go around and spend time talking to people and be a conduit for play, because there's some things that I know that maybe you might not know, and there's
mm.
also other things that all the different sort of NPCs know, and you kind of have to unlock some of those kind of things over time. I mean, and also on top of that, I mean, you mentioned that there's a lot of find out and play stuff. And I'm not trying to allude that I know all these kind of like every sort of grand secret that you can come up with. I will have the answer to. That's not the case, and for good reason. There's an in-game reason as to why that is the case, which is again to a certain degree find out and play too. Um, but there is behind the scenes. It's not just. Don't be fooled into thinking that these things aren't written. These things
Mm.
are there.
Yeah.
There are reasons why things are the way they are. There is a roadmap of not a roadmap of roadmap's not even the right word. There is lore out there to
Mm.
be discovered
Yeah.
and that can be potentially unlocked over time. And I think this is exciting. Like, what is the nature of this space that we're occupying, Haven, right? Why does it exist? and how, and the bad guys, for example, how do they function? What are their motivations? What are they? I can't really say too much more than that.
No spoilers,
But
no
yeah, there's
spoilers.
that. It's very interesting to sort of start probing into those kind of questions.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
there's
actually my
loads of fun stuff
first.
to do.
That's actually my first formal question for the evening. Is number one, what are you most excited for overall that you're allowed to talk about?
Okay, that I'm allowed to talk about. This is like okay. There's actually a lot of things, but I'm just gonna. This one's just immediately percolated to the top of my head, so it's just what I'm
Oh,
gonna
what a
say.
word, percolated. Love it.
Um,
Go ahead.
so I'm currently making a bestiary, which
Yep.
is blank for reasons. And the idea is that as people go and encounter the various denizens of the world that they have to defeat, they will be able to come back and actually fill the bestiary in with their own kind of discoveries. And this will be like part of what I'm trying to get the players to do, in theory. So I like the idea that there'll be this kind of living book, if you like, of discoveries, which is player led, right? And in my mind, whether or not it will play out this way, who knows? But I like the idea of like we need a drawing of this thing, so somebody goes out for the express reason of trying to draw a beastie, and
In the middle of a
they're
fight,
there like
perhaps.
and it could be done such comedy style, right? Could you imagine somebody like bringing an easel along to do like a painting of a monster and telling people to like hold it still?
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely. I'm thinking. So first of all, is this for the Adventurers Guild specifically?
this is for the Adventurers Guild, yeah.
Nice. Okay, already the coolest guild. And then secondly, is this a little bit like The Witcher? I'm imagining some Geralt types out there fighting, and then a handful of others coming through the gate or the portal or however we get to those encounters. And like
Mm.
you said, they've got an easel and a quill, and all the other
This
warriors
could
are
all be
like,
player led.
"What is
I mean,
going
this is the
on?"
thing. It
Oh,
could be
fantastic.
NPC. It could be like an NPC who comes along and is maybe like asking, for the players to, hold the or keep the monster occupied while they draw it. Or it could just be a player led thing. Maybe. I mean, again, I'm hesitant to say it almost too much, but like just the excitement of there being a bestiary and me wanting you to fill it, right?
Mm.
And what that means that your possibilities of just doing that as a player, I think, are just quite exciting. Like, is the information you bring back accurate and true? Is it who's verifying it,
Oh, I
right?
love
Like,
that.
how do we kind of build this up over time? And it's a fairly kind of chunky book, so and I'll probably end up needing multiple volumes and have to spend some time organizing it. And there's going to be logistical nightmares galore. That's a me problem, but it's I just think it's fun. Just an example of aspects of the game that I think are just open to player interpretation and player messing around, and I think that's a lot of fun. Like we've got a quest board, and we'll have a an area for players to put up their own kind of quests slash adverts and things as well. And I want to be big on encouraging bards and artists and all sorts of creative people to be involved in the adventuring side of things. I think that's a very kind of it's a classic D&D trope,
Mm.
right? To have do deeds worthy of song, right? To do the things and have the bard go there to witness you do them, to be part of the experience, to all of these kind of things. I like the idea of thinking about the game a little bit more like a D&D adventuring party, and there's open space for you to go and engage with a situation in a way that is not just we go through gate, we find things and we whack it till dead, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the encounters are actually set up that way. I can't really talk about them too much, but certainly some of the ones I know of are a lot more potentially nuanced than that,
Mm.
right? That combat is not always the only solution, and there's a certain degree of thought and planning and conversation and role play that might be involved in these kind of things.
Mm. And with the, I think this may be perhaps another element to find out and play, but you talked about that bestiary there. Is
Mhm.
that going to go on the wiki, or is that going to stay in field so it rewards people for their in-game knowledge?
Um, so I'm quite happy to this. This is just an idea that I came up with.
Mm.
So it's very me led, and that's been a really fun part of being part of the game team. We've got our little adventuring guild kind of thing, and I just thought it would be fun. Um, and so yeah, I don't think there's any intention to digitize it and put it online. I think this is very much supposed to be like a living document that lives in the world and builds over time, and you as an adventurer can come along, discover something, write it down in there, and it will stay in there, and be part of the world. I think there's this thing, and I'll in a lot of fest larps, I think, or in any larp really, but I think it's a fest larp thing mainly. There's this desire to leave some kind of legacy, some kind of reality, that you were here, right? That you're not just a stone that fell into the water and the ripples vanished, right? That you are actually sort of leaving some kind of tangibility on the world. And in I'll use Empire as an example, and this isn't to sort of talk bad about it, but it's more to sort of put into perspective the scale of the game and the way things are structured. It's very difficult to get a hat, for example, or
Yeah,
to be
totally. Yeah.
someone of prominence because of the PvP political nature of things,
Mhm.
which is necessarily so, and I think it is a really interesting part of play. But there is the reality of it is quite difficult to sometimes feel if you don't have your niche and you're not that person or you're not connected to this group, and you don't have those levers, or it doesn't seem like you have those levers to you to pull to gain access into those kind of areas of play.
Yeah, I
And
totally
I just
agree.
think there's lots of ways to provide experiential possibility, hopefully, which is just a chance to leave some kind of physical mark on the world that you're inhabiting. Because I think ultimately there's a certain desire to sort of have the little kind of tickle, if you like, that I did that thing, right, and the world remembers it. And if even if that's just a couple of scribbled pages in a book in an adventuring guild,
Mm.
maybe that's that. But I think there's a lot more possibilities for that through the way that things are structured. Hopefully,
I'm reeling from how much I adore that metaphor of I'm not a stone to be dropped into a lake and for the ripples to disappear. I think that's fantastic, and I love the idea of having you open this bestiary in 3 years, 4 years time for a new player, and they say what on earth is a boggle snart,
yeah,
and you go, oh well, this was found by character name. They've got their signature at the bottom. A very famous artist who was able to draw these creatures and see them before they were tragically killed by a snorkelborg or something like that. And just seeing that kind of impact on player game. And even if you keep it on or off the wiki, I'm not going to try and influence you. However, having that as something you just walk into in play and you have no idea about outside of it, I think would be very it would enrich the world because I think I'm going to always use Empire because it's my favorite LARP, and yes, I complain about it, but it's still a 9 out of 10 LARP. I
oh,
think they
dude, yeah,
miss a
it's great.
trick. They really miss a trick with the Anvil library. I feel like you could just drop little bits of heretical lore in there as a game team, and then just see what happens. You see who picks that up, what happens afterwards, and just drip feeding plot and story into the world via like written text and art rather than NPCs saying something to someone else important who then keeps that knowledge to themselves and uses it to advance their political career, which is totally in character for Empire, and it should be that way. But what you're saying here is, I can, as my Adrevan character, I bring you back a particularly large skull, and I say, I have no idea what this is from, but this bard has an idea, and they sing a very dramatic song about the boggle snort, and then it goes in the book. And that's my contribution to to Menhirs, contribution to the Adventurers Guild. That is such a cool concept, dude. I love it.
Yeah, I think that stuff like that is 100% what is intended by the idea. And look, I've mentioned this as an exciting thing that I'm excited for. Obviously, this is mainly because it's something that I've kind of just thought over of fairly recently that I really wanted to do. It's kind of I should say it's been in my mind longer than that, but in terms of actually actuating it, and yeah, I just it's one of those things where if it doesn't work as intended, the book will still exist and it'll still be a thing. And if we end up that actually what is more efficient for the game is a digitized bestiary, that probably is in many ways more efficient for the game. And I think will probably be the way that things go on an actual sort of scale. But there will always be this book that we and maybe multiple volumes over time. Who knows?
Hmm.
But this is a physical thing that will have an existence in the space, and I would find it hard to believe that the things that you would find on the wiki will be they might be more accurate or they might be more factual, but they won't be more characterful.
Ooh.
They won't be more true to the experience of what it was to be in the place at the time when it was penned and to be the reader reading it in the time when it is read. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the potential of it. And again, this is a very very small aspect of the game. I don't want to make this seem like it's a ginormous thing, but it just excites me. Like little things like that excite me.
The flavour, sprinkling of salt, thyme, and rosemary on a
Mm,
delicious,
mm,
juicy steak.
yeah, yeah.
May I ask a cheeky question? And you are allowed
Sure.
to say no comment. But if there's a bestiary, does that mean that we're going to be fighting lots of different monsters?
You will.
Hey, nice. All right.
Yeah, yeah. There's there's a lot of fine out and play to that, but yeah, there's some fun stuff. There's some fun stuff out there. There's opportunities to encounter fun things, and there's some opportunities I think to, as I said before, not everything is as it seems, and there's ways of dealing with things that are maybe a little bit different sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes than go through gate whack till dead.
Mm.
So yeah, there's some fun stuff. I mean, so I also, as well as the Adventuring Guild, I've been quite heavily involved in writing for the Sphere of Air, which is the actual physical realm that exists in the realm of air, if you like.
Mhm.
There's lots of exciting stuff there too, hopefully, for people to uncover over time. So, because I think a lot of that stuff, I mean, I can tell you straight up, a lot of that stuff is not wiki known right now.
Yeah, yeah. It feels
There's
like
a
it.
lot, and I think that's exciting too because some of, like, I know some of the stuff that I've written, obviously, but I've also looked at some of the other things that other sort of departments have written. There's some really exciting and imaginative ideas about the possibilities that exist in those other spaces, which I think could be really fun. Like, and those, I think, like the potential for diplomacy, the potential for like trying to utilize those kind of in-game levers of power potentially, like what it is to work with different sort of forces. That's all exciting, and this is me just really not knowing what direction that will go because I think that will be very player-led and player-dependent based on the stimuli that they're given and the way they respond.
Mm. And I was gonna. The second question was gonna be, what was your favorite guild, or maybe your favorite part of the game? But I think that answer's quite clear. I'm assuming it's the Adventurers Guild, unless there's a secret other. Well, I say a secret, unless there's another one you've been pining after.
I mean, I will say the guilds in general, I think, are a really exciting part of play. And for example, the Treasure Hunters Guild, there's a potential there to do some quite fun, I think, Indiana Jonesy style encounters. It's not my sort of space to really talk too much about it, but
Yep.
I'm sure they've got some fun plans. Put it that way. There are there are places you can go and things that you can go that aren't all just wood. So it's fun.
Ian, are you implying that there's an underground dungeon?
I imply nothing. You've heard the words and you can interpret them as you desire.
Fantastic. Gosh, what a time that would be. You go to the encounter tent, you think, all right, it's just another military tent, blocked out from the sun, and there's just a hatch and a bit of yellow tape saying "Caution Underground System," and you found some old sewers on this field, and the players are going through fighting rat men. That would, yeah, that would be
So
stellar.
you're I can't say anything.
Oh
If
no.
I confirm or deny anything, it will be problems. But no, it's yeah, I think like all of the guilds are really fun. So I think there's a lot to discover in the treasure hunters and also the court of daggers. I think is a really fun concept. This kind of police slash assassin force is really fun. Uh, basically, uh, and I think this is fair to say. I think I'm mostly paraphrasing Nick here, because and if I'm incorrect, then I'm incorrect, and I'm happy to be incorrect. But I think basically there's the kind of niche of the rogue is something that has not always been well executed. I think it's safe to say in LARP. I mean, you as someone who have engaged in sort of criminal activity as a character, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I
and
see. Very
I
important.
see. Yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry, yeah, yeah. Just to be
Yeah,
extremely clear, but yeah,
yeah,
like like the challenges that are involved in engaging in that kind of role play, right? And I
yeah.
think it's
Especially with how they've changed over the last 5, 6 years. What I did, back in 2015 at Empire. I mean, the rules are against it now, so you couldn't do it. And I
mhm,
think there's also player expectation as well.
mhm,
Is there's a larger group who want that more PvE experience, and
mhm.
having that PvP environment isn't what they're looking for because they do want to play an adventuring band of heroes, or they want to play Gotrek and Felix and kill Skaven and Ratmen in the sewers, which
Yeah.
I'm not going to let go of for a little while. But uh, and then when they come here, those expectations have been set. You've got the guild at the Court of Daggers. You've got that guild to prop up that gameplay, so people aren't going to have a nasty gotcha moment. It's actually going to be plot generating and drama generating, right?
Yeah, I mean, so for example, turning the idea of an assassin's sort of that role in and the Court of Daggers, it's important to say, is not just assassins. It's a lot more than that. But if you just took that premise, that archetype of the assassin, which is cool. I mean, like, there's obviously the whole kind of edgelord tropes, but let's not deny that there is something kind of cool about all of that stuff, right? Like
Oh yeah, dark cloaks,
that
pair of
kind of
daggers, being a ninja.
all the things, right? Like, it's cool. Like, but like turning that experience into a PVE experience, and I'll allow your own minds to run wild with like how that could be executed and done. I think that could be really exciting for players to engage in. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I've not been heavily involved in it. I don't really know a great deal about it, so a lot of what I'm saying is from a degree of ignorance.
Which is
But
fine.
I'm
That is
happy
the theme of this
to,
podcast.
yeah, like I think it's that like I mean, even to mention another guild, like the banking guild, like the idea of there being a bank where you go and you
Oh,
withdraw your
yes.
account, and it's an in-character environment, right?
Yeah.
The idea that I have to go there, right, and do the same, right? Me as a guildmaster, if I want to extract stuff from my account, I have to go and do that, right? That's cool, right? It's part that I'm part of the living world. I'm not just a robot NPC that exists, right?
Mm.
I'm I live in the same space that you live in.
Would it be would it be fair to say that the lines between crewing and playing are a little bit more blurred than they usually are?
I think so. I mean, I think I don't want to oversell that to the extent where people think, oh, okay, then because there is definitely more freedom in being a player. Like
Mm.
there's like the understanding of me as an NPC and what my role is. Uh, is essentially to provide you with experience or opportunity for experience, right? And that's done through play, right? And that means that I am playing a character and I'm doing things, but fundamentally, the driver is to make sure that you are the person who achieves and does the thing, right? And I think that's there is a blurring of the lines, but I think it's always tilted towards that idea of help give advantage to the players to actually go and do something and attempt the thing and try the thing and let's spitball mad ideas, and then if you're serious about it, go and do it.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like sometimes when I'm just kind of sitting on my own, I kind of think of like crazy ideas of like what's possible and what the players could potentially do, because the game seems quite open in quite a few interesting ways. And my experience being an NPC and how they could choose to interact with me and things like that, I think are hopefully very exciting. Yeah, no, there's like the idea of when everybody submits their stuff into the bank, right, then there is going to be a lottery and someone will win the lottery, right?
Yeah,
That
I
is
saw that on
cool.
the coinage video. Yeah, totally agree. Like getting encouraging people to hand the fizz reps back in. Great.
See, it's there's a lot of stuff like this in the game which I think is like cool game design, but also like just cool, like the idea of like you being the winner of the lottery. And my understanding, and this may be completely incorrect, but and this is going back to when I first heard about this idea, when I sort of was first sort of thinking of joining, is that it's not like you just get the money, right? What you actually get is like the equivalent of one of those big cardboard checks,
Okay.
and you have to go and cash it in. But it's an unnamed check.
Oh my. Okay. Yeah, I've just
So
clocked some of
that's
the
this might
implication
not
of
be
that.
accurate as to play now, but that was how it was described to me back in the day. So it may have all changed, but like just to give people the idea that I think there's a lot of thought that's gone into some of these kind of things that I think is fun and opens up like a potential sort of space. Like yes, on an OC level, it's really cool to like have an incentive for players to hand back their fizz reps, which are these coins, and also it just makes it a lot easier. People aren't going to lose their money and find you're not going to have to feel bad experience of I forgot to hand everything in, and now it's a month or two later, and I've kind of lost it down the back of a drawer or something. Like, your money is going to be safe and somewhere secure.
Yeah, and you can do that admin in character rather than queuing at gods at the end of events to drop stuff off, and it's a 45-minute queue, and it's 28 degrees, and you just want to get back to your tent and pack up so you can go home. You can instead do that as part of your, winding down time before the event finishes, and everybody wins. I think it's just another example of like really good, like you said, really good game design, having cool in-character effects. And I've seen this across the gods. I've seen this across monstering. I'm actually looking at the Fallen page at the moment. An example of like the bulk of the forces are made up of converted members of Elandra, and that means when you go monstering, you can just turn up in your kit. It's
Mhm.
thematic, but also incredibly practical, and I'm seeing that
Yeah.
everywhere across this rule set.
I think, like, I mean, so for example, I mean, you're an interesting person to talk to this about. Like, you were going to be a player, right? You were going to play,
Mm.
and then you made the shift into crewing, and you've made some really. I hope it's not too many spoilers to say you've made some, I think, really awesome sort of monstering armor and stuff
Thank
like
you very
that.
much. I'm looking forward to scaring people.
You look ridiculously badass,
Yeah.
dude. But yeah, I think like the opportunity though for people to quite easily sort of make that shift, either when it's their time slot to go and assist with the monstering section of play as when you're doing your kind of player monster kind of thing, or to just join the crew as skirmish crew and do what you're doing and be able to again, because not all the skirmishes are just fight, fight, fight.
Yep.
I mean, there are a good number that are, and I think it's important to say that there are a good chunk of sort of fighty things. So if you are wanting to run around and get uh, your foam based wax on, then that is there. But there is space also for some other more creative sort of situations to occur. The different ways You know, like nah, that's a bad analogy, but basically different ways that a situation can begin, can be escalated, and can be de-escalated. I think are all exciting. It's not just lines walking towards each other and fighting. Often there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a line of Jotun already charging you. You're like, cool, I guess
Uh,
here we go,
and
killing
there's
again.
definitely space for that, right? There's not like that is sometimes exactly what you want, right? You just want to
Oh yeah,
go and
yeah.
do like the you like I think like I think especially on the LARP noobs, people probably heard me often malign the line fight. When it's a good one, it's good, right?
Mm.
But then it's like
Like
when it's not, it's not.
Cold Sun line fights were
Mm,
terrifying, absolutely
yeah.
terrifying. When you're fighting like such a determined, silent, I've used the word terrifying too many times. Just like fundamentally otherworldly enemy. Oh,
Mm,
yeah, those line fights, absolutely fantastic. But actually, sorry to change the topic ever so slightly. So I've
uh,
seen there's monstering slots on the wiki. If you haven't seen them, go check them out, and how
mhm.
that's going to work. And it's basically sort of small groups of people rather than half of you monster one day, half of you monster the other day. Um, are the battles, or the skirm, are there, are, mincing my words, I can see that there's going to be skirmishes, but is there going to
Mhm.
be the equivalent of battles, or are we just going to see larger and smaller skirmishes?
There are larger situations that will involve nations, and that's why we need the players to help out. I think that's probably the
Gotcha.
safest way to phrase it.
Fantastic.
Um, so yeah, you will definitely have larger experiences that you can be part of. There's a I think this is safe to say. Going into E1, there's a desire to kind of keep things relatively like to define help define the nations basically by having like the nations do their things and have the guilds do their things, right? And uh, over time, those entities and the way that the engagements that they are involved in will naturally merge more. But I think there's probably a desire to have them more singular at this point. And I think that's to help define what they are. I might be again slightly wrong about that, but I think there's a desire to basically see these kind of things as these different spaces basically kind of realize themselves and
Mm.
to gain like a cohesion of what it is to be part of Portivas or um, Morvalis, right? Or
Yeah,
to
like
be
bond them
a
through
member
those
of the
exchanges and
Treasure
all that.
Hunters Guild, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I was just saying there, is it the idea to bond them between like going through fights together, going through skirmishes together, doing that as a nation so they can start to recognize each other and build that camaraderie as a smaller group?
I think that's the initial hope to help define that. It will, but I mean, and this might be. I've not been heavily involved in nation setup or anything like that, so everything I'm saying with regards to this is speculation at best. But yeah, I think that is the loose desire. The way I've chosen to describe it to the team that I work with is that we as the guilds are kind of, if you like, that colorless card deck of magic cards, right? You've got your fire and your water and all of those kind of different things,
Mhm.
your different suits, but we're the blank. So we're the space where if the people you're on a quest with that's part of the adventuring guild or the treasure hunters or the court of daggers or any of the other kind of entities that aren't strictly nations are spaces where you could be working alongside someone from Erdrevan or someone from Portivas or the Hamstad people, there's there's a lot of space to in there to then make that sort of a special thing, right? And that you have this idea of like adventurers coming together from different places to sort of go out and do a thing.
Mm. Yeah, I think the like, how this is going to change over time is going to be really interesting. Of starting off national, again, I'm paraphrasing here, but starting off national, then guilds will have their own roles, and then you might see certain guilds getting more popular with certain nations. There might be rivalries, I'm guessing here, but there might even be rivalries between nations to be the best in a certain guild. There'll be some prestige to it, and that'll all be player driven. And some people won't care; they'll just enjoy it, and then other people who are equally valid as LARPers, right, or get competitive. There might be the most efficient banker, the most adventurer, the most stabby court of daggerer,
Yeah,
and the
yeah. I
likes
mean,
as well.
I quite like the idea of friendly rivalries. So there being like, you turn up and you're a group of adventurers, used to going and like, maybe you start having like a Vox Machina style kind
Yep.
of little, we're on the job, right? We're reliable, we're kind of old hands at that, and then you get some upstarts who come in, and they're your other group of adventurers, and there's a little friendly rivalry. You've failed your last quest, but we succeeded. We had to clean up your mess and all this kind of stuff. It's like that side of things can be fun. There's who's to know what the players will do when they get their hands on the box of Legos, right?
Yeah, they
Like
might eat them. Who
it's
knows?
they might eat them, or stand on them in the middle of the night. Who knows?
Oh yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I love the idea of in a tavern somewhere. There's obviously you've got your adventurers guild, which will be a fine and noble establishment, but
mhm.
somewhere there's a gutter bar where the most mercenary of crews turn up, very very Vox Machina style, and there's like a little ranking on the board of who's killed the most monsters or who's saved the most civilians, that kind of thing, and then there's like a bottom tier race. Because, yeah, like
Yeah,
not like a race to the bottom, but like there's also the wooden spoon award. So if like yeah,
yeah.
whenever these guys go out, they've failed every single mission they've got on, but they've always come back with a new friend, or they've come back having achieved a different objective they weren't meant to. And seeing those kind of characterful bands form, because I don't think any other LARPs out there have the mechanics in place to support that. You've got big battles and big nations, which are very flavorful, but your individual bands don't matter unless you're right at the tippy 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 top of that pyramid.
Hmm.
But this, yeah, you could walk into the Adventurers Guild, you might have a certain colour of feather in your hat, and everyone recognises you as part of the um what's in front of me? The red instant hand sanitizers, for
Right.
example. Yeah, like you're one of those reds, are you? Like, yep, damn right I am. Here's a severed gobble snart head. I would like 50 gold, please.
Yeah, I mean, and also think about how the different nation briefs will interact with what it is to be an adventurer, or to be a member of the Court of Daggers, right?
Mm,
Or to be a treasure hunter, or to go to a bank, right? How will the different groups interact with that experience, right? Like, you could imagine someone from like this kind of Hampstead kind of Peaky Blinders ish kind of gang that are kind of, they kind of moving into an area of like doing jobs for the Adventuring Guild or for the Court of Daggers or whatever, right? Like there's a lot of opportunity for fun there.
mm. They might form their
Then you've
alternative
got your
banks.
very kind of uh, Avaru
Yeah.
people who are kind of coming in, and they are your kind of traditional D&D party, right? All of these different kind of things. I think there's a lot of fun ways to express yourself. Hopefully, I mean, I think the nations are really fun. They're quite. I think they hit all the different color palette notes, which I think is really fun.
Yeah, I love that core design of color. I've frankly I've forgotten about it a bit, but having all those different colors, I think the visual spectacle
Hmm.
of Haven is going to be wonderful. People walking
But
around
also
singing
just the,
praise.
the different genres that are at play, right? So you've like having and this is true at other things. I would say Empire has this to a degree as well, right? But like having Portivas and that kind of leaning into the more nautical stuff, and where you can go with that kind of type of expression, um, and then having another nation like the Wonder or Valdrafe or something, right? And how those are expressed. I think they all hit those kind of different genre cliques in a really nice way, right? I think will hopefully be really fun for people.
Hmm. And on that point of expression, my final two questions for you, kind of, sorry, semi-final two questions. They
Mhm.
kind of melt together a little bit. The first is, what kit have you seen so far that's got you thinking, yes, that player's ready to go? But then also, are there any kind of character concepts you're looking forward to, or you would like to try out yourself over the next sort of couple years of Mendes Fate?
I mean, I personally am always really drawn to that sort of Erdravani style.
Yeah.
I've got and I've made like quite a few suits of Lamlar over time,
Oh,
and
I
I've
love your
always
armor, dude.
been
It looks so good.
thank you. But no, I've always been really drawn to all of that. Right, I love that, just that visual aesthetic. I think just it does something for me. Um, I do actually quite like the idea of going like also kind of quite Peaky Blinders kind of, but mad Leonardo da Vinci style inventors who want to kind of protect their patent rights. Like I quite like the idea of somebody like deciding they're gonna like make a patenting office, which is just a gang.
Welcome to the office. Give us your money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, do you want a patent on that? Because you got to pay, right? Like there could be so many fun stuff. Like
That's an
so,
awfully
yeah. I mean,
distinct pie you've got there, friend.
so I think like those two definitely jump out at me. I've seen some lovely kit. I've so my NPC they originate from Portavas, so I've been fortunate enough to be part of joining some of the kind of Portavas kind of spaces on the Discord, and it's just been really, really cool to see people's kit. Um, some of the people in the PMC and some of the designs they've come up with
The
just look
PMC?
phenomenal. Oh yeah, the Portavas Maritime Company.
I thought you were going to say private
Uh,
military contractors for a second. Like, we've got
so,
BlackRock on site as crew. Crikey. Yeah.
um, no, so there's this whole and they've like got this whole kind of naval kind of system down that they've worked out, and like the lore is steeped, and the designs that they've got for some of their kit look amazing.
Mm.
Big shout out to the Portavas Maritime Company. They look fantastic. But yeah, and there's loads of others. I mean, I've been seeing obviously good friends post pictures. Um, I know that my good friend Ellie and Callum are both like getting ready to unleash some proper awesome kit. So shout outs for them. But yeah, I think like hopefully I think we're gonna have some really awesome kit out there. But also I think it's the cool thing is being a new LARP and a new space with so many new people coming in, and I'd like to believe that everybody is going to approach it with like kind of good and welcoming vibes enough to just we're going to have some new people who are not necessarily this will be the first time coming into the experience, and LARP is expensive, right? Like so I think I'm really excited actually to see a lot of the new players and how they express themselves, what kit they kind of get over time and how they change over time, right? Because I remember when I first started LARPing, right, and how the kit that I had. I mean, I see new people, new LARPers start now, and they are way better equipped, both OC and IC, than I ever was when I started.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely. They're white. There's so
I
much out
was
there
an
now.
I was an absolute idiot when I started, right? Like I didn't know what to do. But I think things are just way better now on that front, right? And I think like the different traders who are available, the network of kind of individuals who you can meet through a LARP, who are like just extremely talented, right? Like to realize that the people that you're sharing a fire with, like one of them might be like an assistant director, another person be like they crochet for like as a hobby, and then you kind of ask them if they'll kind of make like a 14-inch lizard for you,
Oh,
and
I was
you pay
wondering
them
where
and
that
they
was
do.
going. Yep. Yep.
But you know what I mean? There's like the space of LARP is a lot more than just the event if you want it to be, right? There's the friendships that you make, there's the creative ability to express yourself, and to also bring hobbies back and to learn new skills. I mean, you've been doing loads of crafting stuff over, I mean, especially it feels like the last few years, Chris. And you must have picked up quite a few skills through some of the things that you've engaged in doing, right?
Yeah, I picked up leathercraft when I was like a year into Empire, because like you said, when I was starting out, I was wearing blue and black inside Navarre, so just to
Mm,
I had a tunic, a set of trousers, and a sword, and I think I
mm,
had a charity shop belt, and that was it. And I was like, oh man, everyone's got some really cool armor. I want to make my own. And of course, the first couple of years, I just make abject trash.
mm,
But yeah, it's got to the point now where I, like you move jobs, you might get your boss a gift, something like that. And
mm.
I've actually been making belts, like customized belts with their initials stamped on it. And they're the easiest thing to make if you've done any leather crafting yourself. It's just a straight line with some
Mm.
buckles, a nice buckle on the end. But everyone is absolutely astounded by it, and it's a fantastic party trick to pull out and say, yeah,
That's awesome.
here's my phone, and I made all of these things. And
Mm.
I think the public perception on it as well in the last not even three, but like maybe 1.5 years. All of a sudden, people
Yeah.
like no. I went to a shop today to buy some stuff for um, Equinox Institute that is this weekend, and I will be
Mhm.
doing an episode on that because that's like an SCP horror LARP in an observatory in Leeds, which is going to be
Dude, it sounds
awesome.
so exciting.
Like I went into this store and I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I always say, "Oh, I'm getting like it's immersive theatre." And I said, "Oh, is it like that, like LARPing or something?" And I was like, "Yeah, yes, it actually is a LARP." I'm hearing that more and more now. And you got,
Hmm.
like you said, there's more traders, there's more stuff online, and it's a fucking awesome hobby. And when you start showing people the kit you've made, like I don't know if you show many people your iguana, whether that's like a private thing or not. But
Listen. Well, no, but no, yeah, I do actually. Like, in fact, my Ifan my iguana was part of a. If you happen to go to the Cambridge public library, there was a little case up there in like local kind of projects, and it had a whole bunch of my kit in it for a little while,
oh,
a couple of
fantastic,
months.
dude. Oh, you have to
uh,
send me a
I
picture
did a
of
little
that.
exhibition on it. Yeah, it was like it was just fun to do because basically just somebody from the library in the Great Library Network basically got in touch and was like, "We hear you do a bit of LARPing. We wouldn't mind putting some stuff inside a case with you." So I was like, "Fine." So I stuck the old lizard in there, bunch of other stuff. It was wrote up a couple of things, but I found over time like I'm 42 years old, Chris. Right, like if I can't say that I play D&D and other tabletop games I enjoy LARPing, like, what's the point? These are things I do, right? Like, and they bring me so much pleasure. Why wouldn't I want other people to see the things that I'm excited about and not worry so much about people thinking I'm a nerd? I am a nerd.
Yeah, and it's not about being cool or uncool. As you just said, it's fun. It's wonderful. It's creative and stimulating, and I wouldn't trade it for any other hobby on the planet. It,
I can guarantee a conversation,
yeah.
right?
Oh
Like, I
yeah.
can guarantee a conversation with people. And the minute you start showing some of the photos, and I think one of the best things to happen to the hobby has been the incredible photographers and the way they've really
Yes.
like helped highlight just. But it does. I think there's something in a still photo which a video doesn't really capture. Um, I think it can just capture that kind of moment of expression. And sometimes when you'll just see these shots and they're just like, wow, that looks really, really good. I mean, some people's kit looks insane, but it's not even always about the kit. Sometimes it's just the the expression and the depth
Mm.
that you can go with these games, right? Like we've all been places as our characters, right? And just to allow yourself just to have fun and just like experience that, right? Just let yourself just lose yourself for a little bit and see where you go with that, right?
Let
Like
it
it's
take you.
okay. Yeah, right. It's okay. Like you've always got your tent. You can always just go back and peace out for a bit. There's plenty of spaces that you can kind of take some time to chill out. But like, just go for it and really enjoy the experience. I think. I mean, also that I think one of my other sort of things is like there's nothing wrong with just walking around and enjoying the vista of LARP. I mean, I do this quite a lot now, and I've been playing for a while, right? But sometimes I just like having a wander around for no reason other than I just want to see people doing awesome
Yes,
things
yes, yes,
as a
yes.
vista. In the same way I walk around, like if I was playing like an MMO or playing like any kind of video game, right? Like it's like sometimes it's just fun just to walk around and soak up the ambience
Hmm.
and just to see that vista of like all of the tents spread out, to hear the passing conversations that people are having, silly and serious, you know, deeply emotional and hilarious, right? Like the fact that you can go to a bar and pay with silly money for a tea, and then a bard can come in and start singing, and it's Silgor and he's incredible, right? And you're losing your mind over the fact that all your old friends have turned up just by happen chance, right?
Yep, I find that
Um,
especially in Anvil, they
incredible.
always just when you're not looking for someone but you need to find them, they will show up, and nowhere has exemplified that better than Balthazar's Vineyard for me. Uh, Great bar just by the Sentinel Gate at Empire, running high guard, and they've
Oh,
got a fantastic song which is Balthazar the Vinter. I think the sort of the origin story of the bar. And it's an absolute banger, and they whip it up every so often, and everyone starts to flood in. Or do you remember the Empire bar was that huge yurt we had at EU1?
yeah, that was amazing.
What a
Yeah,
play!
yeah.
Like players come. What baffles me all the time with LARP is players will put the sincere, in almost for some people insurmountable amount of effort, right? To bring that kind of tent with the
Mm,
amount of logistics you need for that, the effort, the time, just
mm,
so other people can have fun with you. Like the
yeah.
altruism in that attitude is wonderful, and the
Oh, it's
outcomes
incredible.
incredible. Yeah.
It's absolutely mind blowing. I like to think that I try quite hard, and I put a lot of effort into crafting stuff and bringing stuff and putting stuff out there and making an experience for other people. But
Yeah, you got
there
Ashbourne
are people
information.
who there are people who just like blow me out of the water, dude. There's people who are just like so immensely generous, and they're just like with their time, with their kindness, with their role play, with their experience. It's just LARPing's a phenomenal fucking hobby.
And we get to do it in a week.
Oh, yeah,
In a week.
and it's going to be a brand new thing, opportunity just to dive in. Look, I mean, part of the excitement is I don't know what's going to happen, right? And I think there's excitement to that, and I mean that in the best way as well, because I think all of these things, bear in mind, I've spent some time sort of doing the writing in the background and crafting and all these kind of other things, meetings and talking and all that stuff, but nothing is like playing the game, like playing the game, right? And seeing players get their hands on it, and you know, what are they going to make? What are they going to make of it? Because the game at a certain point kind of leaves your hands as any kind of creator kind of thing, and it does have to be given to the players to sort of have some fun with. And I think like there's a lot of fun to have, and I think the players are hopefully really going to enjoy it, and I can't wait. I just want to see people smile, dude. I just want to see people smiling in a big
Hmm.
field again, just having a great time. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be so cool being on the same side of the fence, and I can't wait when my R&R character hits the field to just poke in and give some professional critique on perhaps some of the monsters that might be in a certain book, or say, have you heard of a boggle snart? And it is just a pig with little cherub wings, and it's got 8 eyes like a spider. It's entirely peaceful as an animal. It's a herbivore. But if you say boggle snart, and then you look around, check your shoulders just in case one's behind you, people will assume it's an apex predator. And that's the thing is, if I draw a little piglet with wings, right, but I don't draw
Yeah.
the scale, then how do people know this isn't the size of a mammoth?
Well, listen, there's also the reality of in this kind of space, we could get some like Monty Python rabbit style situations
We could.
where it's like your assumptions could be perilous.
Yeah, and the infamous coctopus
Yeah.
could make a triumphant return. Who knows? Who knows? I we are coming up to the hour in the next 30
Yeah.
seconds. So one quick fire, final question for you.
Hmm.
And again, no comment is an acceptable answer. But what is the price of an icy pint?
Think that actually is quite exciting in itself because I don't actually know, and this is something I need to check on actually. I'm not entirely sure on the sort of economic value of things yet either. But I think that there is going to be something. I think we will discover in play. Basically, it will be up to the players, and these kind of resources will work themselves out.
Fantastic. Well, Ian, thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I do feel hyped for Menhirs in literally 7 days' time. Well,
7 days. Let's
so we will be
go.
arriving. Um, any closing comments or messages to the fans before we close out?
Just to enjoy yourselves, like enjoy the experience. If this is your first time, just understand that there's a huge quantity of like friendly people, and just to don't like that, like people can sometimes feel like the space is like intimidating, and it is from a starting position, but just go and have a couple of conversations with people and you realize that the range of people that come to these things and look and engage in it is a lot broader than you think, right? All different walks of life. You know, you'll never be alone if you don't want to be, right? That there's people out there, there's friends to make. There's like, I mean, like, look at you and me, Chris, right? Like we would never have met if it wasn't for LARP.
Oh yeah,
And I,
absolutely.
like, I mean, even on like, we have quite different lives in some ways, but then our lives are also very similar in other ways, right? We both have these kind of hobbies that kind of mesh, but we are very different people, and there's probably no reason why we would encounter each other and ever become friends. And I count you as a really good friend, and it's just
Yeah,
like
man,
it's
absolutely. And sorry to interrupt you, but that's the glory of LARP. It brings together the coolest of people, which are of course nerds, and it gives us
Mhm.
that common community, that common ground that I certainly know that I absolutely craved as a kid.
Yeah.
This feels like fruition of destiny. This was always meant to be, and we're finally getting to live it.
Let's fucking go, dude.
Let's
It's gonna
fucking
be
go.
great.
Let's fucking go. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. We will catch you post Equinox, post Menhirs, and all of the other time in between before Empire. But until then, enjoy making your kit, enjoy making your characters, get excited, and we will see you on the field. Bye!
Bye.